Well, good morning, folks. Welcome to CEDA, creating every day in April. And this is episode 22, and I'm Tommy Ellison, and this is bringing you a series of episodes that began with series number 1 regarding Southern expressions. And we're working our way through the dictionary today, and we will be coming up on the letter S in just a moment. But I would like to remind you that these episodes are on my YouTube channel. However, they are unlisted, and I'm debating as to whether or not to make them public. But since this is a CEDA closed group challenge, I'm just kind of leaving them in the unlisted category for right now. So film at 11, and if you don't know what that means, go back to episode 21, one of our rest days. So here we are today. It's Friday, April the 22nd, and we are way over the hump, actually closing out, I guess, our third week in April. And I'm happy to bring you a few expressions today that involve the letter S. Letter S. So let's just get into it and we'll see where this goes. Let me pull this music down just a little bit for us, because I certainly want to be heard. And this music's getting a little old after 22 days. Would you agree? Leave a comment. Oh, and by the way, be sure and click the little like button. It looks like that. And if you want to subscribe, I'm not exactly sure what you're subscribing to other than my YouTube channel, but you're more than welcome to do that as well. And you might even be put on the notification list. I promise not to call you about your car warranty or your aluminum siding on your house. It's just a secret between you and I. Well, episode 22 brings us up with two interesting expressions that I wanted to talk to you about today. And the first one is one that, I'll be honest with you, I've not really heard an awful lot, although I think I recall Grandma on my mother's side using this a few times. She was a very religious lady. She was Catholic. She came over from the European countries, Hungary, Austria, Hungary. You know, the lines shifted then a little bit, but in the Austrian country, she was an immigrant that came in when she was about 4 or 5 years old. And steerage in the boat, if you saw Titanic, they weren't not only top decks, they were down in the bottom, and it wasn't what you would call first class by any stretch of the imagination. But she was a very wise woman. She was a woman of few words, and you would think otherwise, because between she and her husband Steve, they had 10 children over a course of, I don't know, however many years. So I have a lot of aunts and uncles, many of which have passed away now. But my oldest aunt, living aunt, is actually 103. Bless her heart. That's a good Southern expression. Anyway, I think my grandmother used to use this occasionally. I can remember vaguely her saying this. It's this. It said, "He thinks the sun comes up just to hear him crow." And I guess this alludes to the rooster crowing early in the morning when, if you're living in the country or places where roosters and chickens are housed, you know that the roosters will get up and crow at the crack of dawn, and it's like an alarm clock for many folks when the rooster crows. But in this expression, this actually refers to someone who just believes that they have important things to say or to crow about. And so the expression, he or she thinks the sun comes up just to hear him crow. In other words, he thinks he's the big rooster in town. I used to, I guess in the spirit of complete vulnerability, have to tell you that My mom, when I was born, stayed out away from work for several years, and then when she opted to go back to work at the credit union she worked for, we had a maid, and her name was Odessa. And I can remember Odessa talking about and using this phrase as well. But Odessa kept me from the time I was age 2 to about 5 when I started to kindergarten. And then she kind of took a sabbatical because of me being in school, and she later came back when my sister was born 10 years later, or 10 years past my birth. I was 10 when my sister was born, in other words. And so my mom was again still working, and so Odessa was hired back and probably stayed with us at least till I can remember her being there, I guess for another 5 or 6 years till my sister came school age. Did I say my daughter earlier? I meant my sister was 10 years my junior. Makes more sense, doesn't it? But anyway, I think she also used that expression. But the main expression I wanted to talk to you about today is this one. It's one that I can remember my dad using this expression an awful lot, but I never really heard the full sentence being repeated as much as him talking to someone, never to me saying this, but talking to someone or about someone, to my mom or to someone that was in the room. He always just used the first half of this expression, which was, he would say he's so stupid he couldn't pour piss out of a boot. I'm sorry for the word there. It's kind of, I don't really like that word. There's a lot of words I don't like. You know, I'm kind of funny about profanity in a way because I guess, you know, growing up with parents who, especially a dad, my dad, I never recall my dad saying the F word until I was probably 20 or 21 years old, although it almost slipped out a few times. He was quick to refrain from saying that one, but the PISS, the piss word, he used a lot, and he loved the word SHIT, and for sake of explaining all this, I'm going to say it out loud, even though I don't. I've always believed that profanity is kind of the last refuge of the truly ignorant, so I try not to use it. In fact, living in the construction world, I hear it a lot, so it's not something I really like to hear. But in any case, the word SHIT, shit, in the South has to be produced or pronounced with multiple syllables. So it's not just shit, it's shit, shit, well, shit. So anyway, when he used the word like piss, it was typically something that was slurs, like he's so stupid he couldn't pour piss out of a boot, or sometimes he would say he couldn't pour piss out of a boot. And I never really understood the meaning of that expression until a number of years later when I read into it in a book. I don't know if it was Kill a Mockingbird, but it was some book, Southern author, who used the full expression, and you see it on the screen, so stupid, or a person is so dumb, he couldn't pour piss out of a boot with the instructions written on the heel, which has got to make you wonder about that, you know, because first of all, why is the piss in the boot? And secondly, why are you pouring piss out of the boot if there actually is piss in the boot? And maybe thirdly, if you were going to put the instructions on the heel, where would you put it? I mean, would you put it on the side? Would you put it in that little inset? I mean, I'm kind of picturing a cowboy boot here, right? I don't even know where you would put the instructions. And of course, how many instructions would you really require? Unless, of course, OSHA was involved or EPA. But how many instructions, well, federal government, how many instructions would you really need to be able to pour piss out of a boot? I don't know. Do you? You're free to leave a comment. Anyway. Well, that's it for today. I hope you will come back and see us Next week, or tomorrow rather, we will be dealing with the letter T. So have fun. You remember what I always say. When you're in Alabama, you got to come see me. Y'all come.